A lot of people start running to change their body. And for me, there was definitely a little bit of that. But for the most part, it was so I could change my mind. But not in some dramatic, inspirational way, but in a very quiet and necessary way. Because I've definitely had periods of my life where my thoughts are not a safe place to be. And running hasn't fixed everything, but it's given me something that I didn't have before. And that's space. Space between my thoughts, space between my anxiety and my reaction, and space between who I was and who I was becoming. And that's something I really didn't want. So if you've ever struggled mentally, especially if it was done quietly, this is the video for you. I'm Cam from Cam's Run Club, and I help new and slower runners stay consistent. And that's not just physically, that's mentally too, because running changes far more than just your fitness. Today I want to talk honestly about mental health, both what I've learned and what I've experienced, and that in itself is terrifying. So please be patient with me. And after watching this video, you'll know exactly what running does do and what it doesn't do, and why it's become something that I rely on far more than I ever expected. We'll start with the part that people don't see. Most people see running as physical. It's all about your heart rate, your pace, your distance, and your fitness. But what I've found is the real battle is rarely physical. And this is probably not the first time you've heard it, but so much of it is a mental battle. It's all those thoughts that show up before the run even starts. It's the resistance to get started in the first place, or to keep going. Or it's the doubt that creeps in at every opportunity. Or that negotiation that you have with yourself, constantly. It's that voice you have on the inside saying, not today, you're far too tired to get out there and run. Or even worse, missing one run isn't going to make a difference. That one's definitely got me a few times. And like so many people, on more than one occasion, I listen to that voice. And that's not just in running, but in life in general. And this is where the video gets real. So thanks for sticking around. My therapist tells me, probably far too often, that I always try and make things into jokes or try and make things a bit lighthearted. And this is not because I'm destined to be a stand-up comedian. Unfortunately, this is a coping mechanism. So it turns out that's avoidant behavior, and I do that so I don't have to face the danger or any issues that are presented in front of me. And now I've just realized that I'm kind of doing that right now, so we should probably get back to it. Over the last 6 months or so, I've been dealing with PTSD, which I got from being assaulted. And even saying this out loud still kind of feels strange to me, because part of me still feels like I don't really deserve that diagnosis. I know people that have been to legit wars. I know people in the military. I know police officers. I know people that have survived things that have been way worse than anything that I've had to manage. So now I've got this inner voice telling me that what I've been through isn't bad enough. And look, I know it's irrational. And if you were sat in front of me right now, I would be telling you the exact same thing. But I am just trying to be honest with how I'm feeling. And the incredible people around me, like my fiance, my friends, my family, everybody has been so supportive. But still, I've got this inner voice in me saying, what you went through isn't bad enough. Even though the nightmares are happening, still, like every night. Even though I'm getting flashbacks all the time. Even though I haven't had a good night's sleep since June. And even though my nervous system definitely says otherwise. Mental health doesn't care about comparison. Your brain is responding to what it's experienced and not what anybody else has experienced. And running has become one of the places where things would quiet down. Not disappear completely, but at least soften. For a little while anyway. What running actually does for your brain. Running doesn't erase your problems. It doesn't magically cure anxiety. It doesn't eliminate depression, but it changes your relationship with your thoughts. Because when you run, your brain has something to focus on. It'll focus on your breathing, on your movement, on the rhythm of the run, and all that forward motion. And with that to focus on, slowly, the noise starts to reduce. And that's not because the thoughts are gone, but because they're no longer the only thing happening. Running helps regulate your nervous system. It helps your body exit survival mode. It reminds your brain that you're safe, and that you're capable, and that you're moving forward, both physically and mentally. And that is why people say they feel clearer after a run. It's definitely not imaginary. It's neurological. It's simply your brain recalibrating. Another thing that I've not really shared publicly is starting Cam's Run Club was one of the best things that I've ever done. But it also brought forward a whole lot of challenges that I did not expect. It brought with it anxiety, imposter syndrome, and so much self-doubt. Even now, years into this, I'm still driving down there before the run club starts, and there'll be a moment that I think to myself, what if nobody shows up? What if people stop coming? Or what if I'm just not good enough to lead this? And that's not me begging for reassurance of how well I'm doing at a certain thing. This is just honestly the thoughts that go through my head. Like, have you ever walked into a party or a gathering and you look around and think, nobody would have missed me if I couldn't make it here today? Like an absolute outsider, even when you're part of a group. And this is through no fault of anybody in that group. It'll simply be your brain being cruel sometimes. And as much as we might not want to think it, these thoughts creep in from time to time. Anyway, back to the run club. The strange thing was, in the early days, there was plenty of times where nobody showed up. And on the day, that was a relief. It meant for another day, I didn't have to worry. If I wasn't feeling great, I didn't have to put a mask on and perform for people that I didn't really know, and I could just run by myself, and I didn't have to carry all that responsibility. But fortunately, as people did start to show up, something else happened. Growth, responsibility, and connection. And suddenly, running became so much more than exercise. For me, it became exposure therapy. Showing up twice a week, regardless of how anxious it made me. Showing up despite all the self-doubt, and showing up despite the voice in my head telling me I'm not enough. Because every time you show up, you prove that voice wrong. And the reason that running helps so much is running gives you evidence. Evidence that you can do hard things. Evidence that discomfort isn't permanent. And evidence that progress is possible. And when your brain sees evidence, it starts to believe. Maybe not instantly, but slowly, it does start to get the message. As well as this, running gives you structure. It gives you consistency. It gives you something stable and something predictable. And when your internal world feels chaotic, external consistency can become very powerful. It becomes an anchor, something that you can rely on. It's something that reminds you who you are, even when the inner voice is telling you different. But it is equally important to unpack all the things that running doesn't do. No matter what you've seen on social media, running isn't a replacement for therapy. It isn't a cure, and it isn't a solution for everything. As well as my runs, I'm currently doing EMDR therapy. It stimulates eye movement, linking that with talk therapy in a way that helps desensitize you to a traumatic event. So eventually, hopefully, the events that have caused all this stress and unrest can settle for me to a point where things can go back to normal. All of this has been incredibly important for my recovery, and running does support that process, but it doesn't replace it. Running is a tool, but it's not the entire solution. But it is one of the most powerful tools that I've found, because it teaches you something fundamental, that you can keep moving forward. Even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when your mind is telling you to stop. So if you're struggling mentally, whether that's quietly or loudly, I want you to know this. You're not broken. You're adapting. You're processing so much information. And you're healing. Please keep that in mind when you head out for a run. You don't need to be out there running fast. You don't need to be out there running far. And you certainly don't need to be out there feeling like you have to look impressive, whatever that means. You just need to show up. Because showing up changes everything. Not instantly, but inevitably. Running hasn't made me into a new person, but it is helping me return to somebody that I already was. And it can do the same for you. And if anything in this video has resonated with you, please subscribe. This channel exists so I can try and help people stay consistent. And that's both physically and mentally. And if running has helped your mental health and you feel comfortable to do so, please share in the comments below. I read and respond to every single comment, and I would love to hear how it's helped you. So please remember you are not alone in this, because running doesn't fix your mind, but it does give you the strength to face it.